And we're back. It's been over, probably more than a week since I shot a video. And thank you to those of you who have been messaging me, asking me if I'm alive, because that means you care. And that means a lot to me because I am alive. But according to my wife, I, in my head, barely survived the cold that I got while we were in Cancun, having a wonderful time for 4 days, and only to come back for me to be a mess fighting this stupid cold. But I am back, and while I was down, I did take some time to upload a few shorts. One actually went pretty viral. I think it's approaching 1 million views at this point, and it was the one where I walked the lot at a car dealership and showed you some cars that were there for 500 days. And I started one of the videos showing the amount of rust that accumulated on the brake rotors of this Scat Pack and the Hellcats that were sitting on these lots for 500 days. And I got a bunch of comments in that video where people were saying basically rust is no big deal. Rust happens on all cars that sit outside. And obviously, I mean, listen, give me some credit here. I know that. I bought enough cars to know that. Hell, I can walk out to my Scat Pack now that I haven't driven in a few days, and I guarantee you I have some surface rust on there. And as soon as I take it out on the road and drive it, it's going to be gone. But what I wanted to do this video about is because while I was uploading those shorts, I got a text message from a subscriber who bought a Jeep, and I did a video on this a while ago, and he had some lot rot issues. And to date, the dealership has taken care of him, so I'm not going to put them on blast right now. And it appears they're going to take care of him again at this point, and we're going to play that out before I decide to carry this any further. But he did give me permission to share with you what happened and what's going on with his Jeep that I think can help educate all of you out there if you're thinking about buying one of these Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler, and Ram cars that have been sitting on lots for 200, 300, 400, 500 days that have issues, have absolute legitimate lot rot issues that mean when you drive away with that car, you're likely to discover some problems later on. In his Jeep, he had some wires chewed up by rats and some electrical issues that were cropping up, and those were not his fault. So some other chewed up issues on plastic parts of his car. And in the end, some of you commented on that video that said he should have had a pre-purchase inspection when he bought that thing. Now, in hindsight, I think we all would agree with that. Okay, if a car's been sitting for 300, 400, 500 days, then yes. But most people out there aren't watching my videos, and they aren't doing their research, and they're not going on Car Gurus and finding out how long the car has been for sale. And the assumption is when they show up there that it's been there for a few weeks, not a year and a half. So there's a level of trust when you purchase something from a brand name dealership. And despite the shadiness of these dealerships and the stuff we talk about on this channel, the assumption is that the car is going to be in good condition because it's brand new, even though it's sat on the lot for a while. So surface rust on the rotors, no big deal. Some little minor issues, maybe you need to do a good detail on the car, that kind of stuff. But what's happened now when you're talking about cars that have been sitting for hundreds of days and sometimes well over a year and now approaching 2 years in some cases, the issues are much more extensive, and they're not just about surface rust. So I got a lot of comments, and probably from dealers and know-it-alls, who said that surface rust is no big deal, it's not an issue, unless it was pitted, of course, which I would agree, and that it'll burn off when you drive the car. But I wanted to make this clear for everybody out there who's thinking about buying a car. You may need a PPI on a brand new car, something none of us have ever done. And those of you who have done it, you're a special kind of neurotic person. But most of us haven't done that. But now when you buy a new car, you got to go to Car Gurus, you got to do the research and try to find out how long that car has been sitting on that lot. And then look at how long it's been sitting on that lot next to the amount of miles that are on that car. Because if it's a brand new car and all it has is 10 or 12 delivery miles on that car and it's been there for 498 days, that means that that car has been sitting in one place for so long that it didn't do more than 10, 12 miles in almost a year and a half. that means there's probably some issues. There's probably some rats living in that car. There's probably some flat spots on the tires. The tires are probably pretty dried out. You've got rust accumulating not just on the rotors, but other places. But let me just address the rotors. Let's be clear. A normal car, like my Scat Pack that sits outside once in a while, will accumulate normal surface dust or surface rust overnight. It generally takes about 12 hours for that to happen. Yes, I did the research. And sometimes sooner, depending on the humidity of the location or the amount of dampness that exists. Well, here in California, you got to expect that it's not very humid, but these dealerships are likely, because of lots of dust, are hosing down these cars at least a couple times a week. And they're getting wet. They're getting dew on them, etc. And that has led to rust accumulating on the rotors. But not just on the rotors, on other places on that car that maybe you can't see. And here's the fun part, is the car doesn't move, meaning it never went out to burn the rust off. So then a week later, it's still sitting with now a week's worth of rust. And now they hose it down again, and maybe one person test drives it. And then it goes back and sits there for another 100 days. And 100 days of rust accumulates. And next thing you know, you do have pitting. You do have permanent damage going deep into those steel and iron rotors, where you are not going to be able to return them back to brand new factory spec. But here's what's very entertaining is the dealership, of course, wanted top dollar for those cars. In many cases, in some cases, even markups like I shared in that short video that I put up a few days ago. The way I feel is no matter what I pay for a car, whether I paid a markup, which I'd never do, MSRP, or even got some discounts on that car, that I'm buying a new car and I expect that car to be in new condition. And if I take that car home and I find out that, well, the rotors are rusted beyond repair because it's not just surface rust, it's deeply embedded rust that has been accumulating for 498 days, meaning that rust is not going to simply burn off. That's common sense, folks. It's like, I'm not a chemist or anything here, but I can tell you that long of rust starts eating that metal up. But I'm going to show you some pictures to show you, here's what it looks like. Here's a picture of his rotors after being driven, still showing signs of rust that's deeply embedded in these rotors. But here's what's really fun. When he removed the wheels from the Jeep, you can see that his hubs and his wheels are rusting as well. So the rust was more than just on the brake rotors. It's all over the place. And the more he's been digging into this Jeep, he's finding more and more rust. Had to take a cough break. Whew. Accumulating more and more rust. And that rust is not just superficial rust. That rust is deep into those hubs and eating up those wheels. I don't know about y'all, but if I bought one of those Jeeps, I would be pissed off to no end to find out that it's rusting apart at this point because it was so neglected for so long. And that just being some of the issues. But I wanted to do this quick video just to show you these pictures, to show you how bad it gets. And could it just be repaired? Could you brush this stuff off, clean this stuff off, coat it with some sealant and be okay? I don't know. But here's where I'm at. Before they sell these things, after sitting for 400-500 days, hoping for some dummy to come and pay a markup, or finally getting realistic on their price and selling to somebody, I believe they should take those things back, let's say every 60 to 90 days, to make sure they are in good shape in case somebody does come to buy them. And at the very least, if they just let them sit there for 498 days, and then finally somebody does buy it, take it in the back and take it apart and make sure the person's getting a good car. But if they won't do that, which I'm going to say they probably won't, and you probably can't trust them, then you need to do that. And that makes no sense when buying a new car. I get it. It's out of the ordinary. But at this point, if you're going to buy one of these cars that have been sitting in the lot for a long time, have very low miles, you got to know that thing has issues. I want to know when was the last time fluids were checked, fluids were changed. I want to know all that stuff. Because if it's been sitting there for almost 5 500 days, almost a year and a half, then I'm assuming I'm going to take on some issues. Is the rubber rotted? How's the dash look? All these are issues you're going to end up having to deal with. And if you get a dealership that doesn't stand by their product and tells you to pound sand, and let's say it's 3,000 or 4,000 miles before you get a flat tire, which this guy ended up getting, which is why he ended up removing his wheels only to find tons of rust, then you may be told that it's your problem. It happened after you bought the car, and you know that it didn't because there's no way that much rust could accumulate in that short a period of time. So beware, everybody, when you buy these things, especially cars at the Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram dealers with a massive days in the markets. Use Car Gurus to search for these cars. Even if you can find the car somewhere else, go search Car Gurus for that same car, and you'll be able to scroll to the bottom and see how many days that thing's been there and look at the amount of miles, and you can do the math. You probably need to get somebody to take all those wheels off. You need to pop the hood. You need to dig into it, maybe get a PPI, and ensure that dealer takes 100% responsibility for any issues related to that lot rot that has happened. Also, let me throw this in there. What about the car battery? Do you want a battery that's been sitting there dying for 498 days? I want a brand new car battery. I don't want the battery that came with that thing. I don't want you to tell me, oh, I tested it, it's just fine. No, it's been sitting there and dying and then jump starting and dying and jump starting. It's probably not going to last you very long. And they're not going to warranty that battery, most likely. It's going to be on you. So with that, everybody, be careful out there. Don't trust these dealers. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll get back on the horse here and get some more videos up this week because a lot has been going on in the Dodge and Stellantis universe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.